session, we're going to be looking at some of the ways that operators can ensure that their agents deliver high-quality experiences to customers. Seema was mentioning that there are many deployments that have been launched today. Some of these are still on the way towards scale, and really getting the agent piece is a prerequisite for achieving scale for any deployment. So I'd like to get as deep as possible into some operational details in this session. And to make sure that we do that, I just want to provide some practitioners with some really actionable learnings today. So to that end, I'm very pleased that we're joined today by Jennifer Barassa, who is the CEO of Top Image. Top Image is a marketing and promotions and advertising company that's based in Kenya. But in forums like these, they're probably best known as the company that's worked very closely with Safaricom since the launch of M-PESA to ensure that these well-known M-PESA agents get the customer experience right for customers. So in this session, I'm going to be asking Jennifer to share some of the pretty operational details on exactly how they do this. We'll be focusing mostly on M-PESA in our conversation today. But I'm hoping that when I open the floor up to questions a little later on, we'll hear some contributions from practitioners in other markets around how you've tried to tackle this problem. So to start then, maybe I could ask Jennifer to give us a bit of a high-level overview of Top Image and really just some background and context around why and how Safaricom engaged Top Image to work with the M-PESA agent network.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Like he said, Top Image is a below-the-line advertising agency or experiential agency. And we were involved with M-PESA even before launch. M-PESA was launched in March 2007, but we started working with them as early as December 2006 because we had to prepare the market. The agents had to be trained. And so we started as early as that because it was very important that the dealers, some of you call them merchants, should buy in about the product and know about the product and what it entails, what it does and what it do for them. And before we could go now and train what they call their primary assistant. So we started much, much earlier. For about 3 or 4 months, we worked with the merchants to train them before even the launch the product was launched to the market, to the consumers.
Great. And so can you give us a sense of what role Top Image plays on a day-to-day basis in managing the M-PESA agent network? What are the main responsibilities?
The major responsibility is training. In fact, some people call us trainers, some call us police for Safaricom. But the main role is training the primary assistant, as they are called, or agents, anybody who wants to do business of M-PESA. We have to train them first before they start the business. They cannot start doing the business before we train them. And it's after we have done that we give report to Safaricom, and that's when now an agent can start, they can activate the account to start transacting. And we do it, we make sure that we call on the agent about 3 times, and we do give them a quiz or an exam. They must pass that exam before they can start doing the business, because it's very important. It's technologically, and most of the people are going to handle it. Maybe they are not very highly educated. So it was very important to us that for a customer to have a good customer experience, they had to be trained and thoroughly trained. No one can start doing the business before we are satisfied. It's when Top Image is satisfied and we tell Safaricom that now they can start, they can activate the account. Before we are comfortable, the account cannot be up, they cannot start activating. Because it's very important to us, also as an agent, because we are partners with Safaricom, that we want the customer to have a good experience. So, and the most fundamental is to make sure that they are trained and they are trained thoroughly. And that's why we continuously train, because you find that there's a turnover of the staff, and we have continuously to train them.
So that's an interesting point. Can you break that down a little bit? There seems to be
There are quite
one
many
type of
we do
upfront
things.
training and then a different type of ongoing training for the in-store staff on a regular basis.
Of course, that's I just said that training is the most important thing we do, but we also vet. We used to, especially, we used to audit the outlets at first. Even now, we still audit the outlets. We want to make sure that the outlet is at the right place, it looks good, it's branded, and that, of course, that there's an outlet, because you may find that there are some agents who want to have many tills. And they might want to say that, yes, there is an outlet in such and such area. We go and vet and audit that the outlet is there before we can, and we deliver. We also deliver the till, the training, the till, because the customer cannot start operating without a till. And Safaricom does not deliver them. Those tills are delivered at Top Image. We have a warehouse that we have tills, the books, the merchandising, and everything like that. So they'll have to come from Top Image to be delivered to the field by Top Image staff. And therefore, the agent cannot start operating without a till. And the agent will not get a till unless we are satisfied that they are well trained. We will not deliver that till.
Great. So there's the upfront training, there's the ongoing training.
Yes.
There's kind of a merchandising responsibility around making sure that the outlets are stocked with the things that they need. The till being the handset and the agent number. Do you check for other things as well around signage?
Oh yes, of course. When we deliver the first time, we deliver the till. We also deliver the merchandising material. The agent number is very, very important. That the customer must be able to know. The customer who comes in to see the agent number. So that's very important, and it must be very well displayed. We make sure that we deliver the logbook with thematic poster, the pricing, also the prices, so that the customer knows that this is the price I'm being charged for. That gives trust to the customer. They can see the price there. They can tell this is really an M-PESA agent because it's branded. We have delivered the branded material. And also, first of all, the agent number is also very, very important, that this is legally an M-PESA agent, and it's not somebody who has just come from the street.
Great. Yeah. And we all hear about how important it is to make sure that agents have an appropriate amount of liquidity on hand, both cash and electronic money. What role does Top Image play in helping to make sure that M-PESA agents are liquid at all times? Okay.
Now, that's what we do initially before, but once the agent has started, we call on them. And they are called twice bi-weekly, and we make sure that the agent has both float and cash, that they are transacting, they have the transaction books, that they're registering the customers when they come. They're asking for the ID numbers, and all the compliance issues are done. We make sure that the merchandising material is in good shape, is still there, that the agent is charging the right price, that they are using the price, and they are doing the right thing. For example, we compliance, KYC also, anti-money laundering. So, and as soon any new products that comes in place, that any new features that are introduced, we again go back to train.
And can you tell us a bit more about how you do this exactly? So do you have a big team of field representatives that are visiting these agents on an ongoing basis? Can you say a bit more about the team and exactly how this happens?
I have about 100, what we call TDRs, and they are trained first. We have to train them at our offices if they are new or those who have not come. And for a training of about 2 weeks, and then they go another 1 week on on-job training. So we do the training. It's a system that we have developed, and I will not employ anyone else until they get 90%. It's a pass mark. We have been employing a lot of graduates, but we find that they are always being poached by banks. So now we are more employing tertiary educated who are comfortable with the kind of money we pay, as opposed to graduates who come in and it's their first job and they take off. So now we just have the tertiary one. And we continuously train them every 3 months again, because it's very important. So we continuously also train our team.
Right.
Yeah.
And how often, so you've got a team of 100 TDRs, so these are field marketing representatives that are visiting the agents. How often would you expect that each particular M-PESA agent would receive a visit from one of your representatives?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks. And of course, it's not cast in stone. When there's a lot of training, you may find that they might not do that. They may see them maybe once a month, but we'll know it's because maybe the new agents that have come in. And new agents take priority over the old agents, I want to say. However, because I do have team leaders, then we make sure that at least the team leaders can cover those other markets. Yeah.
Right, right. So how many M-PESA agents would each particular TDR have assigned to him or her?
It depends. In the central business district, they may cover 200 to 250 because they are next to each other. These are very small stores. But in the rural areas, at least we have about 150 agents.
Right, just because it takes a bit longer to visit each particular agent.
The transportation is longer. They are sparsely spaced. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a pretty large set of responsibilities that Top Image has taken on from Safaricom. So the initial and ongoing training of the agents, monitoring liquidity, and providing some merchandising support for agents. Why do you think that Safaricom chose to outsource activities like these?
I think if the companies are going to do it themselves, it's going to be very expensive. That means the company are going to add more on their head count. And again, it's obvious that when you take a sales representative, for example, who is working for a mobile company, they'll find it much easier to sell airtime, the easiest way to get those targets. So if at all all the sales rep were also added on the responsibility of managing mobile money, I would not see that working at all, because they would really want to concentrate on what is easy and not what is difficult. And again, they will not, which word do I want to say? They will not cover the outlets the way we do, 100%. They will not be as committed as we are. And they will not, mostly that they will not do as much as we do. That's what I would like to say, the way we do, because we are committed, is our job, and so on. It will be just one of the jobs that they need to do, as opposed to what we do. Because as we think sleep, we say we think sleep, M-PESA.
Right, right. And I think this is a challenge that a lot of operators find themselves in, a dilemma really. Most operators recognize that it's important to monitor agents on an ongoing basis, but it's so easy to think, well, we've got this large team of representatives that are already in the field, already have touch points with prospective agents. Why can't we simply leverage them to deliver these responsibilities? But in so many cases, we do find that it's really tough, given the existing incentive structure that's in place for airtime field sales representatives, to get them to take on this additional set of responsibilities. So in some cases, we've seen operators like Safaricom just acknowledge that it's going to take a completely different team with a completely different set of incentives to take this work on, because really your field sales representatives have no other incentive other than to ensure that the agents are of high quality. They're not incentivized by growth or any other conflicting figures. Okay, so one of the things that you mentioned earlier in this conversation was the fact that the TDRs are visiting the agents on an ongoing basis, and each visit culminates in filling out a form. We have a copy of the form here. Maybe would you mind, I think the print is probably a little bit small, so would you mind kind of walking the group through what's going on here? Can you see it?
Yeah, I think I can. Maybe I need to get down. Okay, this is a TDR form that we monitor. This form has several purposes. One, to make sure that the TDR goes on the outlet, and for reporting purposes, to make sure that the outlet has been called in through those circles. So the time visited is very important. We want to know when did he call at the outlet, and of course, they do have an itinerary. They work out a monthly itinerary and then a weekly itinerary, because sometimes if there's maybe a new product that's being launched or there's a promotion, we may not follow the itinerary. But if they do, then we need to know where they are. Then outlet name, which outlet they visited, because also for me, we like doing what you call back checking. So I may go back, or my other field team might go back there to see back checking. The location where it is, and the agent number is very important, because if he just fills it out of, someone could sit at home and fill it, isn't it? But they might not be able to remember the agent number. So we have to put their agent number, and we know them. If we go to the system, you can tell which agent is this one, just by the number. And then the secondary assistant, whom did you talk to exactly? Which secondary assistant? And also because the merchants or agents have a bad habit sometimes of changing over this primary assistant, or the primary assistants also leave. So we want to know which primary assistant was there the week before, in case there's even a problem. Then the contacts, and then we do the staff train, if there's a staff who was trained, because you find that sometimes every month, some merchants keep on changing agents, either because they don't pay them, or because they like employing primary assistants who are all Form 4 leavers, and they're just there to work for 2 or 3 months, make some little money to buy maybe a cell phone, or they go back to training. So we need to know who was trained and so on. Then, of course, we want to know how many withdrawals they make. This is performance related. How much deposits, and we encourage them. Then, how much give cash, receive cash, how much e-float, and the cash. And especially the e-float is very, very important for us to know how much have they opened. And that's when we came up with the 1.5 rule. Previously, there was a lot of problems that the customer will go to the outlet, and the customer will not will not be served. So we came up to say that we needed to do a 1-point rule, and we trained them through the 1-point rule, why it's necessary. If they did $500 yesterday, then they need to have $750 the next day in the morning, and they must have float. Otherwise, and float is very important. If 2 or 3 times we find that he does not have adequate float, then we escalate to Safaricom, and the outlet can be shut off the system, and that means he cannot operate, and that's very important. So we make sure that they have to have adequate float, because there's no need of them operating if they don't have float. So that's a very, very important role we play to make sure that there's, apart from other things, that they have adequate float, apart from KYC and money laundering, that they have adequate float, because that's what runs the business. Apart that, we have taken them through the business profit story, but it's important that they have adequate float in order for them to operate.
Great.
So that's it.
We've got one other form, I believe, as well. This one is more around merchandising.
Yes, also merchandising to find out, because it's very important for us to have merchandising in the place, what it is, if there's a standee, a trade, all flowers. These are actually a merchandising material for M-PESA, terms and conditions, agent manual, because every time there's a new product that is being launched, we deliver the product knowledge. After training them, we leave them with a file. It's important that they have a file, so that if at all they have a new person who comes in, they can go through it. So SIM card reader, of course, you know why they need to have the SIM card reader, so that there's always new people, maybe a girl or a boy who has now turned 18, they have their ID, and now they need to register. You cannot register until you are 18, and that's now an adult. And if there's phone delivered, or they're still delivered. So, yeah.
So it's really interesting then. So Safaricom has outsourced the monitoring of agents, but really they still make sure that they have direct line of visibility and insight into this front line of customer support via a report that you can provide to them on an ongoing basis. Mm-hmm. So they have a pretty clear picture into which of their outlets are merchandised effectively, which of their outlets are holding the right amount of cash, the right amount of electronic money, and all these important kind of management metrics that they need to run the business properly.
Yes, I also give them a warehousing report, because all the logbooks are delivered to top image offices, all the merchandising material are delivered to top image offices, so that I tell them what we are running out and so what is in the store and what's not. That's also done on a weekly basis, so that they can reorder.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. We've talked a lot about the role that the top image plays in managing the M-PESA agent network and some of the activities that they've outsourced. And these are important activities. And if we look at the kind of a bit of an agent management value chain, we see that along the top, the various participants that are involved in delivering the M-PESA product to customers in the distribution process. And then along the left, we've got the various responsibilities that are involved in the agent network, everything from recruiting to training to monitoring, liquidity and merchandising. We see that some pretty important ones are outsourced to top image. And we also see that Safaricom has kind of strategically kept control of a few important aspects. You mentioned earlier in the conversation that before any new outlet is brought on board, Safaricom has top image go and check on that outlet location. And you provide a report back to Safaricom with a recommendation. And ultimately, the decision to approve whether that new location is brought online or not still does lie with Safaricom. So in doing so, they still get to have direct control over the rate at which their agent network is growing, and they get to control where the outlets are located to help make sure that the value proposition and the economics for the agents. But for now, I'd just like to say thank you to Jennifer for joining us today and sharing these insights.